IGCSE Computer Science, Syllabus Statement 1.3.5a, describe the principles of operation of RAM and ROM. So this is what we're going to do in this video. We're going to look at, oh, my chair's a bit, yeah. So we're going to look at two types of RAM. We're going to look at static RAM and dynamic RAM, and then we're going to look at ROM, and then we're going to look at how both of them are applied to a given application. So let's get started. Oh yeah, one other thing. This video is, well, RAM and ROM is pretty much primary memory. And then the next two videos are going to be secondary storage, and then the next, I think, 2 or 3 videos are going to be offline storage. So yeah, that's pretty much how it's going to go. So let's start with RAM. So random access memory is volatile memory used to store data files or part of an operating system which are currently in use. It can be read from and written to. So it's important here, currently in use. So data files are part of an operating system which are currently being used. I don't know how else to explain it. Yeah, so it's important to keep that in mind because random access memory is volatile. And what that means is it's temporary memory. So the contents of RAM are lost when the power to the RAM is turned off. Yeah, so it doesn't stay there. So it's important to know that it's just stuff that's currently in use. So this is what RAM looks like. This is dynamic RAM and this is static RAM, and we're going to look at the differences right now. Before that, we should look at an introduction. So the larger the RAM, the faster the computer will run. It's a general... Yeah, so RAM never runs out, but it gets slower through time. And you may notice this, because if you have a computer, it gets slower through time. So, yeah. As RAM becomes full, the processor has to access the hard disk drive, or HDD, to replace old data on the RAM with new data. But by increasing the RAM size, the number of times this access operation is done is reduced, and this makes the computer run faster. So you can think of it like, well, actually before that, I should probably say that HDD, or a hard disk drive, is secondary storage. So when the primary memory, the RAM, gets full, then the processor can't keep adding data to the full RAM. I mean, how can it if it's full? So it's going to have to replace old data with the new data somehow. So it's going to have to access the hard disk drive on the computer to do that. So yeah, let's finally look at DRAM. So dynamic RAM is made up, dynamic RAM chips are made up of numerous capacitors and transistors. A capacitor is something that holds a bit of information, so 0 or 1. And a transistor is kind of like a switch. It allows the control circuitry on the chip to read from or write to a capacitor. DRAM needs to be refreshed constantly. So this means that capacitors need to be recharged, and this usually happens every 15 microseconds. If they aren't, they will lose their charges and their values would be zeros, and that's pretty annoying. Static RAM is a bit different. Unlike dynamic RAM, static RAM doesn't need to be refreshed. Instead of capacitors and transistors, static RAM makes use of flip-flops to hold bits of memory. And static RAM also provides faster access speed. So typical DRAM access speed is 60 nanoseconds. It's pretty damn fast, actually. While the SRAM access speed is 25 nanoseconds, even faster. Because, we work with seconds in this world. We see a clock and we say, okay, this lesson's going to end in a few minutes. That's longer than seconds. But, then there's seconds, and then there's milliseconds, and there's microseconds, and there's nanoseconds. Whoa. So let's look at advantages of DRAM. It's less expensive to manufacture, it consumes less energy, and it has a higher storage capacity. Advantages of static RAM: doesn't need to be refreshed, data access is faster, and that's it. You could probably think of a few more if you look online, but this is pretty basic understanding of the advantages of DRAM and SRAM. So let's look at ROM. So read-only memory is non-volatile memory used to store the startup instructions for a computer system. So like the basic input-output system. It can only be read from, so it can't be written to. However, data isn't lost when you turn the power off. It stays. So ROM kind of looks like RAM, but it's not. It's not RAM. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. That's all you really need to know about ROM, but to better understand it, we have to look at an application. So, a toy car has a circuitry which contains RAM and ROM chips. The ROM chip stores the factory settings, startup routines, and the RAM chip stores the instructions sent from the controller, so what's currently being used. Additionally, if the car contains a solid-state drive, it can be used to store the instructions to operate the car. A suitable input device, such as a touchscreen or keypad, can be used for the controller. And the reasons for this are touchscreens and keypads are easy to use, and there are a limited number of options. So let's go back here, because I think I kind of rushed this. So the ROM, remember, is read-only memory. So you store stuff in it. Like, you just, when you make the toy car, you put the startup instructions, whatever, inside that ROM chip. So it's only read from, it's never written to. So that's pretty much what starts up the toy car. The RAM chip stores whatever is currently being used, so the instructions sent from the controller. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's nothing much to know about, but hopefully you get an understanding of how this works. And as for this, you're going to learn about how solid-state drives work in 2 videos from this one, so I'm not going to talk about that. And as for suitable input devices, well, we looked at input devices, and the reason why we shouldn't really use a keyboard or a mouse is because with a keyboard we have all these buttons when we really only need, I don't know, move forward, move backwards, turn left, turn right. That's pretty much it. Maybe increase speed. So a touchscreen would be suitable because, you know, there aren't that many buttons, like maybe 5 or 6. Like a keyboard has quite a bit. So yeah, it's suitable to use a touchscreen or keypad. And also they're easier to use because with a touchscreen, you know, you're seeing a button that says, like, you know, move forward or like an arrow or something like that. So it's simple to use. So yeah, that's pretty much it.